we now know that Damayanti got married to Nal, and then Nal lost everything in gamble with his brother, and the brother asked him to leave along with his wife. और जब उसका wife का को वो जंगल में थे तो he took out his loin cloth to try and catch bird. वो bird उड़ गई and then he was left with nothing. The wife gave us sari and और नल को cover करने के लिए दिया. Then Nal left Damayanti so that she could go back to her home, so that she could go back to her father, Bhim, क्योंकि वो आराम से रहे और नल जो था आगे निकल गया. But Damayanti जो थी did not go back to her parents' place. She started looking for Nal. Right? Okay. Then दमयंती को आगे कुछ ऋषि मिले और ऋषियों के साथ उसने समय बिताया. Then she moved forward. Then she got a caravan, and that caravan got attacked by wild elephants. So the people asked her to go. They thought she was a witch. यहाँ तक पहुँच गए थे ना. अब क्या हुआ? If she was a normal woman, why would she be wandering in lonely places? The leader said, "Let us leave here at the next town. Don't trouble her now." तो लीडर ने कहा, देखो उसको अगले गांव में छोड़ देते हैं, अब इसको तंग मत करो. They left her in a city called Chedi and passed on. Watching the caravan go, she... लोगों ने कहा कारवां वालों. हाँ कि भाई यहाँ पे नहीं छोड़ते, शहर में छोड़ते. Watching the caravan go, she felt desolate, as even the false lull of security that she had experienced in their company was now gone. The last man in the caravan cried, "Stay back, woman." One of the street longers asked, "Why do you leave her behind?" एक आदमी ने स्ट्रीट के बंदे ने बोला, तुम क्यों छोड़ा? एक सड़क में का. God help us, we have had enough trouble. She is, I don't know what she is. Our leader softens at the sight of women. 5 minutes after she joined us, we were attacked by elephants. She is. 5 मिनट जो थी जब ये ज्वाइन किया तो हमें एलिफेंट्स ने अटैक कर दिया. पता नहीं क्या है ये, कुलात्मा है क्या है वो है. They said something lewd and passed on. Damayanti had support at the head of the caravan but not at his tail. पर जो लीडर था कैरावान का वो तो भला आदमी था. उसने कहा कि नहीं ऐसे मत करो. पर जो नीचे वाले लोग थे वो बहुत क्रूअल थे. Now she stood alone in the marketplace. One or two loafers jeered at her. One or two? जो लोफर थे वो चिल्ला रहे थे. ठीक है ना. She was disheveled in rags and her face was caked with mud and distorted with suffering. मुंह पे मट्टी लगी हुई थी, सफरिंग थी, so forth. A shopman cried to her, "Go, don't block the way. You have an evil face. Don't spoil my business standing there." तो एक शॉपर आया. उसने बोला कि भैया तुम यहाँ से चली जाओ, तुम्हारा गंदा सा चेहरा है, यहाँ पे मत रुको, मुंह खराब हो जाता. Here, take this coin and be gone. ये पैसे लो, तुम जाओ. He flung a coin at her. Some urchins, noticing from a distance the gesticulation of the shopman, cried, "The shopman is stoning that mad woman." ये जो शॉपर है वो इस पागल औरत पे पत्थर फेंक रहा है. तो वो लोग चिल्ला रहे हैं. And following his supposed example, they picked up a couple of pebbles and threw them at her. और जैसे शॉपर ने पत्थर का फेंका था तो लोगों ने आकर के 2 पत्थर उस पर फेंके. Other boys joined. फिर दूसरे लड़के ज्वाइन किए. It seemed quite an accredited activity for boys to throw stones at mad persons and monkeys. तो लड़कों को लगा भाई पागल लोगों पे पत्थर फेंकना बड़ी सही चीज़ है, तो बहुत सही था. Presently, Damayanti was running down the street with a howling mob pursuing her. दमयंती की हालत बहुत खराब हो गई. वो भागती हुई गई स्ट्रीट पे और पीछे जो थे लोग उसके पीछे भाग रहे थे. Just then the royal chariot passed that way. Royal chariot है. The king, returning from the temple on the hill, had noticed the yelling crowd, and the moment he reached the palace, तो राजा जो था उसने देखा कि भाई क्राउड जो था वो था. Dispatched his horsemen to the place to rescue the woman. तो राजा भला था चेरी का. उसने अपने सोल्जर्स को भेजा, भाई उस औरत को लेके आओ. One of the guards came back to report. She's in the rest house being guarded by a man. वो इसको रेस्ट हाउस पे रखा है, हमारे लोग उसको गार्ड कर रहे हैं. They said that she was mad, but she has explained that she's looking for her husband lost in the forest. तो वो लोग ये कह रहे हैं कि भाई औरत पागल है, पर वो ये कह रही है कि मैं अपने हस्बैंड को ढूंढ रही हूँ जो कि फॉरेस्ट में घूम गया है। द किंग ऑर्डर्ड हर फेच हर। किंग ने ऑर्डर किया तुम उसको लेके आओ। When Damayanti was brought before him, he ordered her to be sheltered in the women's section of the palace. राजा बहुत भला था, तो जब दमयंती उसके पास आई तो चेदी राजा ने उसको वुमेन सेक्शन ऑफ द पैलेस में रखा। द किंग्स मदर टुक चार्ज ऑफ हर। किंग की मदर ने चार्ज लिया। Nal, clad in the cut-off piece of his wife's sari, wandered far and wide. नल जो था वो वाइफ की साड़ी में इधर जा रहा था। At one spot he came upon a conflagration of leaves and bamboo and put it out. तो उसने देखा, नल आया और उसने देखा लीव्स ऑफ बैम्बू है, तो उसने अपनी वाइफ की साड़ी उतार दी। A serpent which had been encircled by fire now emerged from the height and said, "You have saved me from the fire and absolved me the moment from a curse."
हिंदी में बता।
हाँ, which had condemned me to the existence of a serpent, with constant threat of being clubbed to death. The serpent continued. मतलब क्या हुआ कि नल जो था आया, उसने देखा कि एक जगह एक आग लगी हुई थी लीव्स की, तो उसने उस आग को बुझाया, क्योंकि फॉरेस्ट में आग लगेगी, है ना, अपनी उससे। तो फिर उसमें से एक सांप सब सर्पेंट निकला, और सर्पेंट ने कहा कि तुमने मेरी जान बचाई है, उसका धन्यवाद। The serpent continued, I'm grateful for your help. Now I want to show you my gratitude before I assume my real shape. Now take 10 strides and counting each step aloud. तो सर्पेंट ने कहा मैं तुम्हें धन्यवाद करना चाहता हूँ, तुम 10 कदम उठाओ और आगे बढ़ो। Null obeyed the servant. Serpent, when he took the 10th step, counting aloud dasa, which in Sanskrit means 10 and also means bite. तो जब वो 10वें स्टेप पे गया तो नल ने बोला 10। तो 10 का संस्कृत में मतलब होता है 10, और 10 का जो है ये भी मतलब होता है serpent. The serpent acted on its second meaning and immediately darted up and plunged its fangs in his veins, emptying all its venoms. और जैसे ही उसने 10 बोला तो सर्पेंट ने आकर के नल को काटा,
काटा
और जब काटा और अपना सारा जहर नल की वीन्स में डाल दिया। Is this the return for my help? Nal asked. The serpent said, This is my last bite as a serpent. All the poison will now circulate in your veins. ये मेरी आखिरी बाइट थी एज अ सर्वेंट, अब जो सारा जहर है तुम्हारी नसों में घूमेगा। And Kali, who has entrenched himself within you, watching and relishing all your travails, will now leave you unable to stand the venom. और तुम्हारे उसके अंदर काली जो थी वो घुस गए हैं। काली जो है एक देवता है, वो तुम्हें परेशान कर रहा है, समय और काली। तो काली जो है जो तुम्हें परेशान कर रहा है, जब मेरा वेनम अंदर जाएगा, वो काली जो जो नटखटपन दिखा रहा है वो तुम्हें छोड़ देगा, भाग जाएगा। द पॉइजन विल ऑल्सो अफेक्ट योर अपीयरेंस, और पॉइजन के कारण तुम्हारी शक्ल जो है पूरी बिगड़ जाएगी। एंड नल फाउंड हिमसेल्फ ग्रोइंग डार्क एज अ सिंडर एंड शॉर्ट एंड डिफॉर्म्ड। तो नल जो था वो एकदम डार्क हो गया और शॉर्ट हो गया, डिफॉर्म्ड हो गया। He could hardly recognize his own hands and legs. What is happening to me? He cried in alarm. मुझे क्या हो रहा है? उसके हाथ पैर सब पूरे के पूरे डिफॉर्म हो गए। This disguise will help you. You will not be recognized. Now listen carefully. Keep these two pieces of cloth, wrap yourself in them when you wish to assume your original personality. तो जो तुम्हारे टू पीसेस ऑफ क्लॉथ हैं, जब तुम ओरिजिनल पर्सनालिटी पे आना चाहोगे तो उनको रैप कर देना, बट डोंट डू सो until you achieve your purpose. If you walk southwards for 5 days, you will reach the kingdom of ऋतुपर्णा. 5 दिनों तक अगर तुम साउथवर्ड जाओगे तो तुम किंगडम ऑफ ऋतुपर्णा पे जाओगे। ही इज़ अ गुड किंग, टीच हिम हॉर्समैनशिप। तो तुम उसके पास जाना और ऋतुपर्णा पे जा करके उसके जो राजा है उसको हॉर्समैनशिप, घुड़सवारी सिखाना। लर्न फ्रॉम हिम द साइंस ऑफ गैम्बलिंग, और उससे सीखो गैम्बलिंग कैसे करनी है। इन विच ही हैज़ मास्टरी एंड अवेट फर्दर डेवलपमेंट, और आगे देखना आगे क्या क्या होता है। एंड डू नॉट रिवील योर सेल्फ टू एनी वन अंटिल यू गेट बैक योर किंगडम एंड योर वाइफ, और अपना चेहरा किसी को मत बताना, अपनी सच्चाई, जब तक कि तुम्हें अपनी किंगडम और बीवी नहीं मिल जाते। God be with you. The serpent assumed its original celestial form and vanished. At the gate of the palace of Rituparna stood a dwarf, sounding the bell, which meant he wanted an audience with the king. तो जब वो गया और वो पहुंचा तो ये बौना हो गया था और उसने बेल लगाई कि भाई मुझे राजा से मिलना है। द गेट कीपर्स लाफ्ड एट हिम, गेट कीपर्स जो थे देख करके हंसने लगे। बट ही वॉज एडमेंट एंड द रूल्स डिड नॉट परमिट एनीवन टू बी टर्न्ड अवे आर्बिट्रली। और वो जो आदमी था जो बोना था वो एकदम हट करने लगा। और रूल यह था कि अगर राजा से कोई मिलना चाहता है तो वो मिलने का मौका मिलेगा, कोई वापस नहीं भेज सकता।
राजा के तरफ
So they said the king cannot set eyes on so deformed a creature. We will consult his age and come back if you will wait here. तो उन्होंने कहा भाई राजा इतने डिफॉर्म्ड आदमी को तो नहीं देख सकते, बहुत ही बदसूरत है, हम उस उनके दोस्तों को एज को बात करके आते हैं और फिर हमें बताते हैं। An officer of the palace household came to the spot and making a wry face demanded, "What do you want?" तो पैलेस से एक ऑफिसर आया, उसका चेहरा टेढ़ा था, उसने बोला भाई क्या चाहिए? I must speak to the king. The king is busy, you may tell me what you want. राजा बिजी है, तुम मुझे बताओ तुम्हें क्या चाहिए? Are you the king? No, no. I want to speak only to the king, that is if the bell means anything. मैं केवल राजा से मिलना चाहता हूँ अगर इस बेल का कुछ भी मतलब है। So the courtier went back and the king appeared on the balcony. The deformed man said, "There are many things I can do, king. Only admit me in your palace. I can make you happy, serving you in 100 ways unquestioningly." मैं आपको 100 तरीकों से अनक्वेश्चनली सर्विस कर सकता हूँ, मैं आपको बहुत खुश कर सकता हूँ। What can you do? Don't be misled by my looks. God has chosen me this disguise, but your majesty will be pleased with me when you have tried me. जब आपने मेरा परीक्षा ले ली होगी तब आप खुश होगे, मेरे डिस्गाइज पे मत जाइए, भगवान ने मेरे को ये रूप दिया है। आई एम एन एडेप्ट इन मैनेजिंग हॉर्सेस, लेट मी वर्क इन योर स्टेबल्स। आपके स्टेबल्स में काम करें, मैं घोड़ों को अच्छे तरीके से चलाता हूँ। एंड यू विल सी हाउ आई कैन मेक द टार्डिएस्ट हॉर्स फ्लाई लाइक अ वर्ल्ड विंड। और मैं आपको दिखाऊंगा कि सबसे बेकार घोड़े को भी मैं कैसे भगाता हूँ। I can look at a horse and tell you that he'll be like in 5 years, 5 months, or 5 years. The king was impressed with this man's talk. He found him in due course extremely valuable. Any horse responded to his touch. घोड़े उसके टच को रिस्पॉन्ड करते थे. And the king enjoyed nothing more than a drive in a chariot with a deformed man holding his reins. डिफॉर्म मैन जो था उसकी रीन्स पकड़ता था, किंग को बड़ा मजा आता था चैरियट में. During those outings they became very friendly. Nal also threw a hint that as a cook he could prepare food fit for the gods. और नल ने ये भी कहा कि मैं खाना भी बड़ा अच्छा बना लेता हूँ. The king's love for food being very marked, Nal soon became the chief creator of good food in the royal kitchen. नल बहुत अच्छा खच्चा खाना जो था राजा को बना के देता था. Between the kitchen and the stables, none captivated the heart of the king, very much to the envy of all the court. Damayanti longed for her husband secretly and realized that in spite of all the comfort that surrounded us in the palace at Chedi, she ought to slip away and resume her quest. तो दमयंती को लगा भाई न, नल को तो ढूंढना है, तो उसने कहा कि भैया ढूंढ के निकलना होगा. She felt so impressed by this thought that one evening she quietly walked off through a gap at the back end of the palace. A guard at the post cried, "Who was there?" तो वो रात में निकल गई और फिर एक गार्ड जो था पीछे से बोला, भाई ये कौन है जो कि भागे जा रही है. And Damayanti got confused and attempted to hide herself in the shadows of the rampart. दमयंती कंफ्यूज हो गई तो वो जो थी किले के अंदर कहीं छुप गई. The guard attempted to hide. The guard led her back to the queen mother, who comforted her and said, "Tell me what is troubling you. I will help you." क्वीन मदर ने बोला तुम्हें क्या चीज़ परेशान करी, मैं तुम्हारी मदद करती हूँ. Meanwhile, Bhim, Damayanti's father, had sent search parties far and wide. तो भीम ने पार्टीज को इधर उधर भेजा था. and one of the emissaries was a Chedi following the trail of Damayanti through various clues. एक आदमी दमयंती के पीछे पड़ा हुआ था जो कि एमिसरी था वो था. At the Chedi Bazaar, having heard of a mad woman sheltered in the palace, he managed to reach the presence of the Queen Mother and begged, "Please summon the refugee, let me see her face." Refugee को बुलाइए, मैं उसका एक बार चेहरा देखना चाहता हूँ. "I hope you will find out who she is and tell me," replied the Queen. "She won't speak about herself. Last night she wanted to run away, but we brought her back. How can I let her go unless she is able to say where she wants to go?" क्वीन मतलब बहुत भली थी. उन्होंने बोला मैं उसको कैसे जाने दूँ जब तक कि वो नहीं बता सकती इसको कहाँ जाना है. When Damayanti was brought before him, the man rose to his feet and made a deep bow. वो आदमी उठा और उसने एक बाव लिया. वो झुका and said, "I've come to the end of my quest. This is our princess. I cannot be mistaken. I've known her since the day she was born." ये हमारी रानी है. Immediate arrangements were made to send Damayanti to Vidarbha, although she demurred and protested. Back in her father's house, she sent emissaries far and wide. She selected special men for this mission and said, "Wherever you come upon one, you may possibly be my husband. Repeat this message. What is the measure of manliness of one who steals away from his wife at dead of night with half her clothes?" उस आदमी की क्या औकात जो कि रात के अंधेरे में ये अपने बीवी के आधे कपड़े लेकर के भाग जाता है. And bring me his answer. A few days later, one of the messengers came back to report. At the stables of the king Ruptupanna, if one who would have taught it, it was a dark night and the path was lonely, and wild creatures snarled. But the man thought it was the only way to make a foolhardy woman go back to her father's house. यही तरीका है. रात का अंधेरा था पर आदमी ने ये सोचा कि भाई यही तरीका है जिसमें कि ये लड़की जो अपने घर को चली जाएगी. What made you seek out this stable boy? Because I had heard of his horsemanship and his cooking. मैंने उसकी horsemanship और cooking के बारे में सुना था. When the man described the stable boy's appearance, Damayanti became unhappy. Still, in order to draw him to Vidarbha, she sent out an announcement that having despaired of finding Nal and having allowed sufficient time to elapse, she was now proposing to choose another husband by holding a swambar. तो उसने कहा कि भाई देखो अब मुझे तो हस्बैंड मिला नहीं, अब मैं क्या करती हूँ, मैं एक स्वयंवर की रचना जो है मैं कर देती हूँ. And all those aspiring her hand might come forward. और जो भी उसका हाथ लेना चाहते वो ले ले. The announce नहीं दमयंती ने कहा. दमयंती ने कहा. The announcement was directed especially to Rituparna and his entourage, and the notices were so short that none of but the fastest horsemen could hope to reach Vidarbha in time for the Swambar, which Damayanti organized with her mother's help. दमयंती ने ऑर्गेनाइज किया अपनी माँ के साथ और the fastest horseman है वही आ सकते थे. The moment Damayanti's swarma became known, Rituparna ordered, "Bring the fleetest footed horses. We must reach Vidarbha before noon tomorrow." कल नून के पहले जो हम लोगों को विदर्भ पहुंचना है. आई वॉन्ट टू ट्राई माई लक देयर. मैं अपना लक जो है ट्राई करना चाहता हूँ. Nal presently brought his choice of 4 horses which did not look imposing at the least. They were scraggy. वो horses ऐसे ही थे, बकवास थे. The king said, "You call yourself an expert? You're sure these horses can reach Vidarbha intact and let alone in time?" "Yes," replied Nal. "Don't be discouraged by appearances." He explained his technique of horse judging and assured the king, "We will reach the verb an hour before you want in there." They left the capital and Rituparna realized that as the horses galloped on, what an expert charioteer he was. At one time, a gust of wind suddenly blew off Rituparna's scarf. Go and recover the scarf." "Impossible," said the charioteer. "Not if you want to reach Vidarbha at noon." अपने भरोसे. "Can you guess the distance we have covered?" And he gave a calculation of the speed of horses by observing the form of their mouth and the distance traversed since the scarf moved on. Rituparna was impressed, but wishing to show off his own knowledge in another line said, If you rein in the horses for 5 seconds, I will tell you how many leaves that fig tree has in its branches by a glance at the leaves have fallen to the ground. That's what stopping for, even if it means missing the swimmer by 5 seconds and null. However, I'll quote the horses and make up the time. He brought the horses to stop. The king chose a particular tree, made his calculations in a split second, and proved correct to the nearest bird. Null was stupefied. Your Majesty, if you will teach me this art, I will teach you, Majesty, the secrets of horsemanship. It's a gift I possess, said the king, and the few in the world can challenge me in any game. From her balcony, Damayanti listened to the sound of the horse's hoofs and declared, he is coming. No one else can gallop horses in that style. After Nal had arrived, she sent a girl to the guest house with the message. What is the measure of manliness of one who steals away from his wife at the dead of night with half her clothes and received the same reply as before? The girl added, O princess, it is someone, a horrible looking man. But Damayanti asked, is he also looking cooking food for Rituparna? Yes, madam. The king, it seems, will not eat any other food. Damayanti begged. Please somehow manage to bring a sample of his preparations. But we are forbidden to bring edibles into the palace, madam. Please somehow smuggle in a thimble of anything is cooked and I'll give you a necklace. It may be unsafe, the girl said. If it is poison, so much the better for me. You will be helping me either way. The girl was gone for a while and came back with a small bowl filled with some fragrant deathbed. Even before tasting it, Damayanti cried, it can't be anyone else. But madam, protested the maid, one can't bear to look at him. Don't be hasty. Damayanti decided to see him for herself nevertheless. This caused a commotion in the palace, but Damayanti was adamant. She merely said, when I was lost in the forests and mountains and strange cities, encountering strangers and facing dangers every minute of my life, who were there to protect me? I was stoned, chased, strange men taunted me with their attentions. Who protected me then? My life is dedicated to searching for my husband. If I do not succeed in finding him, let me die in the attempt. But this man has not the slightest resemblance to your husband. I will take my chance. Nothing will happen to me. When she saw the deformed man, she burst into tears. She could hardly muster the courage to talk to him. Yet the horses flew, food tasted divine. Above all, he answered the question she had phrased it in the court. How do you know about the man who deserted his wife? She asked. Nut taunted her for a little while. When a bird flies off the only garment a man possesses, what's left of him but to rip off the edge of his wife's sari? Damayanti grew more and more bewildered until he declared, and if the wife has thought it fit to have a recourse to finding a new husband for herself, when the old one is lost, it was the last desperate measure to entice him back, she replied. Nal chose this moment to drape over him the cloths given to him by the serpent and assumed his original form. You have no doubt found your husband, said Rituparna, but I have lost a wonderful horseman. You will continue to be my master until I regain my kingdom, said Nal. Teach me the purest form of gambling and I'll play for it for the last time. It will be a privilege to help you. I'll stay with you and make you an adept. After 1 month of intensive training, Nal set a challenge to his brother Pushkar. This is really the final phase of the game, he declared. The stake this time is Damayanti. Pushkar was tempted, he was a happy usurper, but he had always felt that his conquest would be complete only if he married his brother's wife as well. He accepted the challenge. The jealous gods who wanted to punish Nal were no longer malevolent, and they no longer inspired either Pushkar or the dice. Soon the usurper lost everything. Nal, strengthened by Nituparna's guidance, reduced his brother to the state of having or to walk down the street in a loincloth At the end, he relented and he gave him a portion of his kingdom, advising him to turn over a new leaf. और ये कहानी खत्म.